Well, as you saw there, it really is the most remarkable achievement. I was talking to Lewis a little bit earlier, and he said, you know what, this isn't actually about the swim, it's about the message, that message of protecting our oceans and doing much more to look after the animals that live in the oceans. And I'd like to bring in Julia Hunt now, who's from the Kent Wildlife Trust. And Julia, you've been following Lewis's progress very closely, and of course now he is almost at the end of his swim, but he is very concerned about what we're doing to the oceans, and it's something you've been working on for a long time. Do you think his message has got through?
Yes, I do. I think his achievement is absolutely phenomenal, and it's been great to raise awareness for so many people and put pressure on the government and on industries to make everyone recognise that we really do need to take action. But another thing that it's doing that I think is really useful is to show that every person, no matter your skill, can make a difference. And that at Kent Wildlife Trust, we're trying to get as many volunteers and as many members of the public involved to make a difference to the marine environment.
So doing what sort of things?
We've got a whole range of different activities that you can do depending on your abilities. So we've got people who don wellies and go out to the coast and explore what's on the beaches. We get people who get their diving gear on and go swimming to look underwater. And that information, the data that they're collecting, has been helping the government to decide which bits of the seas we ought to be protecting and why. We've also got, for people who can't get out necessarily or don't have so much time to spare, we've got written campaigns that can be done. So, for example, in the past few months, over 1,000 people wrote a postcard to Michael Gove to say how important they thought marine conservation zones were and to ask him to protect more.
Well, he is coming down. He'll be here in a few minutes' time. He's going to go on board the boat and meet Lewis and watch him do that final leg of this swim. We hear a lot of platitudes from the government, don't we, about marine conservation zones. We know that they're looking into about 40 or so more conservation zones. I mean, it's all very well designating an area, isn't it, to say this is a protected zone. But if you don't police it, if you don't make sure that dredging doesn't happen, if you don't make sure that overfishing doesn't happen, then it's as good as useless.
There are many different types of marine protected areas, and they have different levels of protection. Just south of here, for example, there's a marine conservation zone called Folkestone Pomerania, and that we've worked really closely with government agencies and with fishing authorities to put in place a management plan that genuinely does protect the area. So nowadays, none of the particularly damaging fishing activities where the seabed is scraped as seafood is collected, none of that happens there any longer. So you're absolutely right, some have more protection than others, but it's great that we're putting in place more, that we're designating more, because that is the first step. Recognising the right areas is the first step to proper protection. And
if Mr Gove came over here now and you could ask him a question, what would you put to him?
How is he going to work with us, with all of the industries that are working in the area, and with the environmental organisations and academics to put in place a management plan for these areas that genuinely works?
Yeah. And I know Lewis has been pretty depressed about the state of the wildlife in the seas, especially as actually he worked his way up the coast. What sort of examples have you seen of what damage is being done?
Well, he's particularly been worried by the lack of fish and the lack of wildlife he's seen, and that can be a result of overfishing. And so, as I say, we're working with statutory bodies and fishing authorities to look at that. He's also been really worried about the amount of plastic that he's seen. And in the work that I've been doing over the past few years, I've seen the impacts from enormous fishing nets that have got lost at sea that weigh tons and carry on collecting fish and carry on killing animals for hundreds of years after they get lost, down to tiny little microplastics that can disrupt the reproduction and growth of tiny little organisms that are vital for our food chain as a whole and the health of the oceans.
Yeah, excellent. Well, thank you very much indeed for speaking to us. Good to see you. Sorry about the weather. It's been very miserable here, but as I say, the sea is calm, and that's all that Lewis is worried about as he gets ready to jump back in the water. We'll be following his progress live, of course, on Sky News and also on Sky Atlantic. We're bringing you a special programme to mark the finale of the long swim as, I say, Lewis reaches the harbour here in Dover. Do tune in for that with Anna Botting. Right now, back to you.